All right, we are live for an RTD Q&A midday. Excited to be back with a good friend of mine, Mr. Maneoco64 from over in the UK. How you doing, Mr. Mario?
I'm doing well, thank you. And you?
I am doing excellent. I'm excited to have a chance to connect with you. Got a gang of things I want to just run by you. You're a very wise individual, and so it's always good to connect and to further educate myself by speaking to you. So I appreciate you taking time for me this evening. So let's start off with it. So I entitled this More Lies, Layoffs, and Lockdowns. The second wave is upon us. And so the second wave, of course, over in the UK, you have a whole different situation over there. Here in the US, we got certain pockets of everything. But the second wave narrative, I think when we spoke last, a couple months ago, we were talking about anticipating that to arrive around this time. And so, I don't think it's the actual health side of the second wave, but more of the propaganda / false news that they want to throw at us. What are your thoughts on the second wave? Is it here or what?
Yeah, you said that in the UK it's a little different in Europe, but if you look at the US, US is a big country geographically. You've got the Northeast, which the climate is very similar to Europe, and then you got the south of the US, and that's why the cases in the beginning in the US were so bad in New York, right, and that part of the country, and then it was only later on that it got down in Florida, mainly because of the geographical area. And so yeah, here in the UK there's a lot of they're talking a lot about cases, right? And by cases they mean people just doing these tests that we're told, even the politicians are saying that these tests are not really credible, that there's a lot of false positives, which seems to be an oxymoron to me. And it's a DNA test, isn't it? It tests for coronaviruses, and we've all got viruses in our body. I'm not a specialist, but I've done a little bit of research. Yeah. And if you've had a flu or a virus in the last few years, you're probably going to test positive. So, and I think there's been a campaign here in the UK in the last week. I've noticed the government with the NHS, which is the state socialist health system, they've been advertising, using taxpayer money to push people into using this track and trace app that they have. And now as well, if you go to a restaurant or if you go to the golf club, if you go to the bar, you got to wear a mask inside. And they're pushing you. Oh, here's do your track and trace. Get the NHS app. I've avoided that. Huh?
Even out in the restaurants, like publicly, the businesses are telling you to download it.
So I mean, they did that. I went to play golf on Monday, and I finished, and I walked in the clubhouse, and I had to put my mask in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I don't have to wear it playing. And then if you sit down to drink, you can take it off. It's just ridiculous. And but I saw another guy asking the lady in the bar, and they were talking, and she said, "Oh yeah, you can scan here. There's the QR code for the NHS app." I didn't rush to put my phone and get that app because I'm not going to get it because and I think that's they've made it even a law that you have to do it. So businesses like the golf club is a limited company; they have to do that, or they can be fined. But the MPs here, the members of Parliament, which is the equivalent to the House of Representatives. I saw earlier this week one MP. His name is Desmond Swain. He was saying this is ridiculous. You're passing laws on a Sunday without consulting Parliament. You're like, you're having us rubber stamp these without consulting us. And his final word was, yes, maybe one day we'll really have a bad pandemic that will kill millions in this country, but this one is not it. That's what he said. And he said that it was Project Fear. So that's coming from an MP. So that's encouraging, you see. And I'm just looking here. Yeah.
And I'd say it's that same MP. I think on Twitter, he was banned on Twitter. And so he
Was
had.
he?
I saw something about so a high official in the UK is banned on Twitter for just talking about scientific data that was given. So the censorship aspect of things, as we were touching on beforehand, is going to pick up even more. Even though Facebook today talked about banning any types of talks or about the ballots. So the ballot situation is going to be a
Oh
big
yeah,
deal here. And so
I
once
saw
again,
that.
I anticipate in this month here, as I was mentioned before we went live, about the concerns of just this, how will life look after November 3rd? And everything is going to start officially taking off even more so this month. And it's one of the things where it's hard to navigate these waters, but knowing that things have already changed in a very uneventful way for majority of us. So, yeah, oh, man, it's not good.
Yeah, I think they're really trying to divide us,
Mm-hmm.
like not just in the US. I mean, the US is really divided,
Yeah,
but here as well, you've got Brexiteers versus Remainers.
yeah,
I saw they're still having a fight with the EU, the UK government to negotiate out of the EU.
yeah,
We've got the people who are skeptical about this whole engineered crisis, which I think it's engineered,
yeah.
but even if there is a virus that is not very nice, I think they've hyped it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone on mainstream radio here called Talk Radio, she was interviewing actually a minister from the government, and she said, "Did you know that from March till September, end of September, 370 people under 65 have died of coronavirus, only 375."
Mm.
And, and they're closing the whole country.
The whole
And
planet down. Shutting the
yeah,
planet down over cases like that.
I saw that Grant Williams, he's from
Yeah,
Things That Make You Go, mm.
yeah.
He's originally from the UK, and I think he's visiting London. And he tweeted today photos of central London at midday, lunchtime. It was empty.
Hmm.
And the city of London, central London, there's a lot of tourism. There's no tourists around from everywhere around the world.
Mm-hmm.
London's a popular destination, so it's killing all the businesses, all the restaurants, all the cinemas, all the museums, all the art galleries. I mean, it's crazy. And in the city of London as well, very few people going to work. It's like the Wall Street here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a good thing, but be as it may, there are a lot of people whose jobs depend on the city of London.
Yeah.
Little restaurants, sports clubs, anything you can think about. And it's just not finance, it's also insurance, legal, shipping. It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, one thing you mentioned is that about the comparison to London, to that London district to Wall Street district, is that it could be a good thing. But is it really a good thing if this is a planned event? Like if they're deliberately
destroying... I was just being a little. It's a joke.
Yeah.
What I mean is our monetary system is a bit screwed up, as we know. The fiat currency system, in my opinion, and I think the city of London and Wall Street will be around in 100 years still.
Yeah.
It will be different because there's always finance, but I just think the way finance is set up right now is just not sustainable. And I think that was part of this crisis, was to, as you know, to bail out all the Wall Street banks again. We saw the repo crisis flare up in September last year.
Yeah.
And
so that right there leads us into the Great Reset. And so part of the destruction is also to give us a plan. And so the Great Reset, with all the different categories of things that they think will be best for heading us into this next decade. So I think, everything is so-called well scripted out on their part. But once again, along with that comes a lot of pain and disruption, because it only hurts those that are not participating at the top level.
That's right.
So, oh man.
Yeah, the guys at the top level, they know how to position themselves. They know what's going to happen, and that's what you and I are trying to warn people about. Maybe try to protect ourselves buy no, I'm not saying we need to be like the bad guys, but you need to know your enemies, see what they're doing
Yeah.
to maybe help yourself, protect your family, your finances. And I think the other agenda is that it can only be, they're not doing things to try to help businesses, especially small businesses. People thought after May or June that things were going to go back to more normal, but now they've kept talking about the second wave, and they're like imposing more and more controls. People are not traveling abroad anymore. You might think, well, people, the British travel abroad a lot. That helps other countries, but it's also part of the economy here. You've got travel agents. You've got around London, you've got like 5, 6 different airports. People work in those airports. You got hotels. London is one of the busiest airports in the world. People, let's say, traveling from India, going to the US, they might fly to London and then from London to New York. So it's like a hub, and that's all gone for now. And people are also scared now of going out. Because a lot of people have bought into this agenda, and people like me who I think we don't want to go out because there's all these controls. You got to wear a mask, you got to leave your name, you got to be tracked. The other one that they've done now, you can't meet with more than 6 people, right? That's the new rule.
Really?
So if you have a dinner party and you invite friends, you can only have 6 people. So including you.
Yeah, certain. So I saw
all restaurants, pubs, all have to close at 10 p.m. I mean,
so I mean, it sounds like on the surface, for those that believe in this pandemic scenario, would say it's probably good, but yet those that look at it as a pandemic would say, hey, it's literally the destruction of the entire system as we've known it for a greater cause, and yet most people will never come to that realization until after the fact, and that's the bad part about it. People think it's
and I'm not even sure if it's for a greater cause, because I'm not sure the globalist agenda, they want like an AI world, Internet of Things. I'm not sure it's a great thing. Hopefully they won't succeed. It is upsetting, but at the same time, I've been warning people since this crisis started, when I realized that it was like an engineered crisis. Lindsey Williams, he's got the book about how they set up the oil embargo crisis in the 70s to usher in the petrodollar. Most people think it was the Arabs, they boycotted because of the Israeli-Arab war. But Lindsey Williams tells us that the U.S. government told oil companies to stop shipping the oil from the West Coast to the East Coast because they wanted to create shortages. So, this, the other thing as well, if you're gonna flush down a financial economic system that's gotten too, how can I say, leveraged, too much debt. This is what you do, even though they're pushing more and more debt right now, which I think is probably the last hurrah, I think, for the system, because the more debt you have, and with the fact that the economy is shrinking, there's not as many people working. How are you going to support that debt? The only way it's being done right now is because the Fed's monetizing it, and rates are at 0. But what if interest rates start rising? What if fund managers and pension funds start realizing, hey, maybe we
they have been, and I think more have been coming to the realization of where this is all heading than the mainstream media would be willing to tell us. And I was very surprised when I first saw it on Zero Hedge when they said that Ohio Pension Fund decided to put, I think, 5% of their portfolio into gold. Not sure if it's gone through or not. But you got more hedge funds coming out saying that gold, and then a lot of CEOs of corporations are saying now also Bitcoin. So I'm seeing more CEOs talk about diversifying and having some reserves in Bitcoin. So Not sure how this is going to play out next couple of years or so, but I think the central banks can still get a lot more out of this system as far as further enslaving humanity. Just because, as of right now, majority of the people are not out there consuming and spending, so they can still pump those funds into all types of sectors and bubbles, create more and bigger bubbles. And also outside the equities market, the housing market, the bond market, and maybe some other things, there's still a lot of other areas that can use a little bit of inflation as well for them to continue this game on, I think. So
yeah, the danger though is that for the central bankers, or it might not be a danger because it looks like they want the higher CPI, like Powell was saying they're gonna let it run above 2%. What could happen is a lot of this money could flow into commodities, because you look at commodities, they're the most undervalued they've been since versus financial assets for, I think, the last 120 years. So if you see just a small fraction of all this money flow into commodities, we could start seeing, what they call inflation, which is consumer prices, start rising. And if bond prices drop and yields start rising, the Fed could try to print more money. They probably will. But all that will do is, I think, help precious metals even more.
Yeah.
So, either way, yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, cryptos as well, I think, is not a bad place to be. There's a limited supply, of course, of Bitcoin. The altcoins is a little bit more speculative. I would try to, be careful with that. But even Bitcoin, I think you don't really need to put too much in it to have a good return. But I still trust more the track record of gold and silver. It's like thousands of years. Bitcoin's been around for about 10 years, maybe a little more.
Yeah, good point there. Good point there. So for those that are tuning in, I'm seeing a lot of activity in the chat section. Feel free to ask some questions directly in the chat, or just to shake things up a little bit, feel free to give us a call. I'm sure, Mario, you down with taking a couple calls or some questions or whatnot from people?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so phone lines are open. As long as everything lines up, everything should go well. Give us a call. Let's talk, and we can get some questions answered or whatnot. And so another thing I want to talk about is, what's been your impression of the first round of the debate? So what did you see from the other side of the water? So looking over here.
Well, to be honest, I didn't watch it, but I've read about it, that it was really, how can I say, it was like two children debating, right?
Yeah.
I saw a video by Luke Radowski from We Are Change about the debate, and someone turned Trump and Biden into like little boys.
Yeah.
So I think it's a symptom, a reflection of the division between left and right. That there's no. I watched months ago the first presidential debate ever between JFK and Richard Nixon, who was running for president in 1960.
Yeah.
And it was so different, so civil. They were like talking like human adults.
Yeah.
And they were even saying, yes, I agree with you on that, Mr. Nixon. But the only thing the difference is that I've got another way to accomplish that goal. You see, it was like, you can Google that and watch on YouTube, and you compare that to what happened the other night. And even though I didn't watch it, I heard that Trump interrupted Biden a lot.
Oh, Biden couldn't finish a statement. Biden couldn't get anything out without Trump throwing it. And the thing is, both of the gentlemen guys, president, they both said the same thing we've heard on the campaign trail. So it's absolutely nothing new. And it's like, okay, when are we gonna get some real fresh intel? But we do have a call. It's like, let's see if we can. Let me see if I got it here. He had a call. Oh, yes, we do. Okay, let's see how this goes. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question? Your thought?
Hey, this is John in Aurora, Colorado.
John in Aurora, Colorado. What's in your mind today? What's question you have?
So the first question is for Mario, knows quite a bit about this. But what would be the case for owning bonds right now? Like, I look in the investments that my pension is in, and they have to go deeper and deeper into junk bonds because even the 10-year Treasury bonds, they yield less than what the government is calling inflation. So what would be the case for that?
All right.
Yeah, well,
you'll answer it off air for us.
Yeah, well, I think there's a few things like your pension fund, for example, the managers. They are a lot of times required by the rules to invest in stocks and bonds. Yeah. So they have to. And corporate, junk bonds, I mean, that's a dangerous game. But, treasuries, 10-year yield is right now 0.7. So you're getting very little return. So maybe, they're going up to junk and maybe getting 2.5%, 3%. I'm not sure where junk yields are. But the other thing is the Federal Reserve. They're also supporting that market. They even buying junk. I guess you don't get a very good yield on bonds, but the only thing that they're getting right now is because the longer the term of the bond is and the lower the yield is, the higher the price goes and the lower the yield goes. The lower the yield goes on a long-term bond, the price moves up very dramatically. So they are getting the capital gains on the bonds, but a bond should be an investment to get an income. And I think when interest rates turn, and they will, because the bond market, bull market, has been going on since 1981. That's like almost 40 years, and things don't last that long, cycles. Once interest rates turn and start going up, I think, treasuries are going to get decimated. High yield, not high yield, but AAA bonds will get decimated. All bonds will get decimated. And it's, it's a disaster waiting to happen. But as I said, a lot of these pension funds, even in Europe, the public pensions, company pensions, they all just put money in bonds and stocks, and they have to, they're different, how can I say, jurisdictions and different rules, of course. But I think it's very dangerous, the bond market.
All right, so we have another call here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's your thought or your question?
It's low blood pressure, Corpus Christi, Texas. How you guys doing today? I hope everything is great.
Doing good. What's on your mind today?
All right, Mr. Mario Maneco, I was going to ask you, how's London right now with the homelessness? Is it like in San Francisco, everybody defecating in the streets? Or is the homeless problem not as bad as it is here in the States? And I'll take the answer off air, and I wanted to also ask if you could say hi to the Queen for me.
The Queen, yeah, I don't know where she is. I think she's hiding somewhere. But the homelessness, in London is. I was talking to my wife about that. It's not as bad because we have more of a safety net. It's more socialist here, and I'm not saying I agree with socialism, but you do see a few people, on the streets. Be underneath like entrances to buildings where they get sheltered. You do see people like that, homeless people, but not as much as in California. You don't see people doing things on the street, so it's not as bad a problem, but I think there is a lot of food bank activity here. People but are even before the lockdowns. Last year, people who had jobs, a family of two with kids, a lot of people couldn't afford to feed themselves. They would feed their kids first. So food banks, is a problem, the food. But right now there's like a suspended, there's a false sense that things are okay because you're not working. A lot of times you're on furlough or you're getting support. So people have a bit more cash than they usually do, I think. But no, it's not as bad as in California and other parts of the U.S. here. I couldn't tell you know, in the other parts of the UK, how it is. But
so we got another call here. So appreciate you for
good.
sharing that thought. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's Hardy from England.
From England. How you doing, my friend? You
Yep.
fellow citizen
I'm
there.
very well.
What's on your mind?
I wanted to know if you guys in the Deagle forecast for 2020.
You said? What's the gold forecast for 2020?
If you type into Google Deagle, which is like a government website, they've done like a forecast for a bunch of countries, like a population.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah. It said that the US population was going to drop to like 50 million or something. Or
I think yeah. So you say what are our thoughts on that? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I just want to know what your thoughts are, and I wanted to ask Mario where Billy is.
Billy is doing great. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate you calling, man. I'll have Mario touch on that.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks.
he's not in the room. Yeah, the Deagle. I've read about this Deagle forecast. I'm not sure, you know, who came up with this, but it's kind of. Have you seen that, Mike?
I have. So give it to me. Give it to me again. What's the website again?
Let's see. US. Let's see. I don't know. I'm trying to Deagle population forecast. Let's have a look.
Deagle population.
I think it's DEAGEL. But
okay, DAGL. All right, give us 1 second because
it's the forecast in 2025, isn't it? I think, like for example, they're forecasting that the U.S. population in 2025 is going to be 100 million.
Okay, forecast.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Yeah. So here's something I'll pull up here. So here is. All right. Let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah. So somebody mentioned that a while ago, and I looked at it, and I'm not sure of the source of this information and how they tallied this, other than seeing that it has something to do with the weapons industry and, you know, a lot of those military industrial complex type of industries, to where I'm thinking, is this like early prediction of some things or what? But here I got on the screen here, and it talks.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, 100 million in 2025, the U.S. Population.
Yeah.
I mean,
so, you know,
I mean, if they keep doing lockdowns and destroying the economy, I mean, maybe that's what they're looking to do. But it is scary. It's scary. I mean, but I don't know the real source and who's come up with this. I've heard about this for a few years.
Yeah, but I think regardless of the information or where it's coming from, you know, it plays right in line with the whole depopulation aspect of all the agendas, Agenda 2030, Agenda 20. So every nation, every country, every boys club has an agenda, and it has to do with less population and more control for them. So will this whole pandemic health situation escalate that more? Or, you know, and I haven't been following the war radar as much, but is there still a lot of, you know, buzz in the China Sea area and all those things, to where we could be also having a war within the next year or two?
Yeah, that is a possibility. The other thing is, well, about what's happening health-wise here in the UK, for example, because we got the NHS, which is a national health system, and the way it's funded is through the national insurance tax. It's like a payroll tax that you pay when you work, so it gives you free access to health. But ever since this crisis started in March, they basically shut down the whole NHS because they want to be just ready for this virus, right? So people who were supposed to have gotten, tested for, women who get tested every year for breast cancer, they're not getting their tests. You know, people who are testing for other things, other conditions, they're getting no service. So you could get a lot of people dying of other things, because the NHS has basically come, it's not doing its job anymore. So that's the other point as well. War as well. I think the South China Sea is the most important part of the geopolitical equation in terms of war, because I think control of the sea lanes there for China, which it doesn't have right now. The U.S. has it. Would really make China powerful because they're building this land. One belt, one road. They want to ship goods via, overland via Russia to Europe, and if they can control also the sea lanes and Taiwan, I mean, they will be en route to having a very strong reserve currency. I'm not saying it's going to be the reserve currency, but it will be compete with the dollar, and I think the Americans are very aware of that, of course, and that could trigger a war. But some people think that the war cycle, unless it starts very soon, it's over. So that's good news. A war definitely would decrease the population. But usually these. Go ahead.
So here's a question for you from Denton Regret. Appreciate the love offer to the channel, my friend. It says, do you ever think U.S. stackers could be wrong and gold go down like Harry Dent says all the time? So how Harry Dent said 1,000 out of gold or something like that. He's been preaching that for a while now. Do you think stackers could be wrong?
Should I answer that, or you want to answer that?
I think it's going to be wrong, just because I think it's definitely going to be wrong to me, because every paper as well as digital unit of currency that has been created out of desperation and an emergency measure will be held accountable. And the best way that they've always been held accountable is through the valuations of gold and silver, because those are the historical anchors of the world. So I think no matter what, and I think I saw you post something earlier about intrinsic value, how gold and silver.
That was the French philosopher Voltaire said that paper money eventually goes to its intrinsic value, which is zero. And the dollar is a paper currency. The only reason it's lasted so long is because of the military power. And the U.S. had I think 2/3 of the world's gold after World War II that it accumulated because of providing all the it provided a lot of stuff to Europe during World War I and stayed out of that war most of the time. It wasn't affected during World War II domestically. So it's gone through all that, I think. And paper money always goes to zero. The only way that things would change, for example, if central banks started raising rates, unwinding their balance sheets, everything would collapse. That would be a complete collapse of the system. But gold and silver would still be standing. They might not be $10,000, even if they buy you $100 of something. When there's no money around, it's still going to be valuable, right? I think the system is so out of whack now. We're either going to get a high inflation, or we're going to get a deflationary collapse, and gold and silver are going to do well either way. I don't think there's a way out of all this money printing. They tried to normalize a few years ago, and it didn't work, right?
Yeah, very true. Now, another question I forgot Tony said about, I think it was something about deflation. You've hinted on inflation. And so I think it might have been something of, are we going to see deflation, or are we seeing deflation, or something like that?
Well, I like to define deflation in the classical sense. Inflation is the increase of the money supply without having backing for the currency, and we've had that for the last 50 years, since 1971. So we haven't had deflation, and inflation of money and credit leads to higher prices, and it could be consumer prices, stock prices, and everything. And deflation, which is the destruction of debt and the money supply, leads to lower prices. But you can get higher prices in a deflation, or you could get lower prices in an inflationary period. But you look at, sorry?
What about stagflation? Stagflation
is basically when I think we're having stagflation to some extent. The only way they've been able to hide consumer inflation, consumer prices, not inflation, because we've had the inflation, is that they've transferred all the industry, all the manufacturing to China and other countries. And over there, the labor is so cheap, and they're selling it back to us really cheap, so the prices don't go up. But the flip side of that is that, it's destroyed the middle class in the US, in the UK, and people, the way they were able to keep their standard of living to some extent was through borrowing, right? But now it's finished, because look at all the people, the unemployed people. Look at how, even if they get their jobs back, do you think they're going to be earning the same? Yeah. And I think, that's stagflation was what happened in the 70s, when you get high consumer prices and you also get unemployment. You see, I don't buy into the Keynesian idea and central banking idea that employment causes inflation, or higher wages cause inflation. It's rubbish. It's printing too much money that devalues the currency, and it leads to workers asking for more because they can't cope.
If any of that philosophy would have worked, we just came off an all-time low in employment, like all the stuff Trump was touting. If all that stuff worked,
the greatest economy ever, right?
Exactly.
How come people didn't save any money for this crisis?
And corporations, corporations know that they're going to get bailed out. Like, it's bailing out companies, and Wall Street, everybody else is the new norm moving forward. I'm thinking, like, how does a Fortune 500 company of any type, of any kind, not have any savings?
Well, because they borrow too much to buy back their shares,
and high dividends to all those executives. So, what I'm starting to realize, and I think what more Americans will start to come to the realization as well, is that the with current events, we're 7 months, 8 months into what's been labeled as a new norm. It will result in the downgrading or the decimation of the American dream, which will then lead to an extremely lower level of life standard here in the U.S. More so, taking us out of that potential first world down towards the second world, however we define that, and ending up in the third world type of status. Did you think that's the ultimate destination for the U.S., or is there?
Well, that's what they want. The people in charge. They did the same thing to the United Kingdom, to Great Britain. In the last 100 years. This country was, a lot wealthier than it is now. It's still quite wealthy. The U.S. will always be, it's still going to be a wealthy country. But you said there's a saying about the American dream that you have to be asleep to experience it. So, not.
I think a lot of that has been because not nowadays. Society and just our population in general has been very spoiled and very spoiled for the most part, because of the easy financing. Being able to finance your entire lifestyle has created a unsustainable norm of being able to get anything you want at any time without having to wait or be patient, without having to even have to work for it. And I think by all that, when the credit crunch officially hits and everything goes belly up from the banking side of not being able to swipe your card whenever you want to get whatever you need, then I think that's when the true awakening will come up, and people will realize how good they've had it. Like having the bare minimum of a roof over your head, water, clothes, shelter, internet, high speed, all that stuff. That is the new dream that we've taken for granted, I think.
The thing is that, the Austrian School of Economics, they define borrowing or debt. Basically, they explain it, that's consuming the future, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're consuming your future production. So we've come to a point where as a society and economies, we've consumed so much of the future that we got to stop now and pay it back. And that's what's happening, I think.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to be ready for a much, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, a bad thing. It means that families, extended families will get closer. People are going to be nicer to each other, maybe not as aggressive, not as greedy, but and I think there's opportunity, in every kind of environment. And
Right.
if you haven't consumed too much of your future, if you've been careful for the last decade,
Mhm.
which is tough because you see everyone around you taking 3 or 4 holidays a year, going to Spain twice a year, and you just maybe go once every 2 years. But it's going to come back to haunt them. I think
All
it's
right.
already doing.
We have another question or another call here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's your question as well?
Hey there, Mike. This is Pabar from Seattle.
Pabar from Seattle. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind tonight? What's your thoughts or question you want to get out there?
I just wanted to give Maneco a good statement for him. He's doing a good job with his channel. Keep at it.
Mm-hmm.
Same with you, Mike.
Thank you.
Just to go along with the flow as far as how we've essentially been living on these absorbent dreams or whatnot. I think the sooner we can come down to reality, the quicker that happens, I think the better it is for everyone else. Because this world that we live in currently with the clown bills on all these presidential debates, it's time for them to move on in life. So just wanted to make that statement to both of you.
Yeah.
So
Appreciate you, Pabar. Thank you, my friend. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So Mario, we're about 40 minutes. You got a couple more minutes. We get ready
yeah.
back because we can talk, and it's it's stuff. As all this stuff unwinds and unfolds, there's just more to talk about. And so, all right. So let's kind of head towards the end of this by talking about solutions. And okay, there's different aspects of our lives that need different strategies and solutions. Of course, financially, we know gold and silver. And so on the political side, if for example, Biden gets in, they're talking about an instant market crash. And even if Trump remains, it's going to be a market crash eventually. So no matter what, there's all types of ways of bracing for impact. But what are some of your primary focuses on preparing for this, as we move further into this decade? What are some things that you're trying to get done?
Well, I think living within your means is important. I know that silver and gold are good protection for your savings, but and also investing, in yourself, maybe your family as well. And by that I mean, helping them if they have ideas, business ideas, and the stock market, I think, is a dangerous place right now. I see quite a few cycles analysts that see it going down quite a bit in the next couple of years. The solution, I think, you have to look within yourself for a solution. I don't think you should try to, wait for a knight in shining armor to come on a white horse and save you. I think too many people expect that. And you have to try to get away from being, dependent on the state as much as possible. Not only here in the UK, everywhere around the world. And I know it's hard politically because we still have to pay tax, even if you don't want to pay tax, right?
Yeah.
But as for Trump or Biden winning, I don't think it's going to make one bit of difference to the situation. A lot of people say, well, he's got a plan, he's trying to discredit the left. But, you look back to 1980 when Reagan came to the presidency, the national debt was just under $1 trillion, and we've had, Republican, Democrat, we've had both sides. Yeah. And the debt increases all the time. It doesn't really matter. The only president who actually had a little surplus for 1 year was Bill Clinton, who was a Democrat.
That's even questionable, depending on how you look at it.
But it was still close to zero, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it really matters, the politics. A lot of people might disagree with me. Maybe your local politics might be more important, like at the county level. Yeah. I saw a headline here in the paper in the UK. There's a city called Middlesbrough in Yorkshire, the north of England. Yeah. They're refusing to impose a lockdown. They've told the central government, Westminster, they don't want to do the lockdown. So that's good. I think it's going to be more localized. You got to stick to your local community.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. I don't think it's going to be an easy time, unfortunately. But there are. I think the Chinese, the character for crisis is the same as opportunity. So.
Very true, very true. And just yesterday, it was really revealed to me. I was talking to someone, and they were saying that, this whole script, especially after watching the last debate, it really looked like it's a well-scripted event. And so if you look at it, he was referring to the fact that every movie has a script. We know how it usually plays out, but it's always some type of suspense in the middle. And that's where we're at now, at the suspense and how this comes to an end. Because we know it will, but yet it's just a suspenseful buildup. And we got the left-right paradigm of Biden going to get it done, Trump going to get it done. But we know how it ends, unfortunately. And out of a 12-season episode or 10-season episode, and so which is referring to this current decade, we're only in season 1 of a 10-season-long horror film or horror show or whatever. So. But yet we ultimately know how it ends, man. But that's where I've been really big on the spiritual element of things. Like,
that's important as well. Yeah,
people are going to be calling upon help and somebody, but yet, looking at within and, finding your higher source, a higher power, whatever you locate it as, is going to be important. Because
I think it's important also not to get angry about what's going on, even though we're critical of what they're doing right now with these lockdowns and everything. You need to try to not bite into it.
Yeah.
Because they will crack down on you.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard. I've been fortunate that I don't work in an office anymore. I do my videos at home, so it hasn't really made much difference for me. Yeah. And I like playing my golf. I don't think we could play from March to like June, but
you got out there.
But and. It is, you can still go out and stuff, but the way the rules here are really stopping people going out and doing things, and that's killing the economy even more.
Yeah. So it's going to lead to more layoffs and everything else, and more destruction, and of course, it's going to further dependency upon the state, because I think by next spring, the UBI, Universal Basic Allowance, will be rolled out.
Did he mention that? Did he? Biden,
nobody mentioned that. They didn't touch on that yet.
Oh, sorry.
So
okay.
It's one of the things. It's a hush subject matter, because it plays more into the central bank and the government having to come up with how they're going to do that. So they won't. I don't think they'll be touching on that publicly.
Yeah.
But it's going to be rolled out as a direct emergency response when something even more worse happens or whatever. So
they're talking about that, the digital currency, central bank digital currency. They've got a plan at the Fed already that what they'll do is the Treasury Secretary, let's say there's a recession and the economy drops by 5%, they'll issue like 2 trillion of these bonds to back. They're going to be zero coupon bonds that are going to be perpetual, right? So it's just a book entry. So the Treasury Secretary will call Jay Powell, said, "Look, Jay, we're issuing 2 trillion of these. Take these from us," and then they will issue the digital currencies as a liability to the Fed. And the asset will be the bond, and you'll receive 1,000 digital dollars from the what's the Chicago Fed?
Yeah, from the app on your phone or something like that, or however.
Well, but you will be the Chicago Fed, right? In Detroit, that's the Federal Reserve District. So you get $1,000 from them. But with $1,000, you buy maybe $50. You buy a cup of coffee. That's how it's But I guess the important thing is not to be the. I guess everyone will get it, but the important thing is that it doesn't really not important to you, because you've protected yourself with other assets like precious metals.
Yeah, we got. I see Mr. Bitcoin Ben said, "Hey guys, we got to." So definitely, I'm gonna find out. I'll reach out to everybody to see about getting another Wise chat going, just because things got hectic during the end of the summer. But if you guys are interested in getting back together and just talking a little bit, we can do that. So I'll reach out. Well, okay, so we are approaching the 50-minute mark, so let's get ready to wind this down. Mario, it's always great to hang out with you. Looking forward to doing it again. And for those that don't know, Maneoco64, YouTube, and he's Twitter, DTube, Hive, anywhere where videos is probably posted, Mario's there. So check him out, and we can go from there. When the new wise guys. So Ben says, when the new wise guys episode. So it's October now, Ben. So we can get these things going. I'll put out that word to find out who all wants to join, and we can get it going soon. So we can probably shoot on next week if you guys want, if you guys are available. So I know Bitcoin Ben is on the road doing a crypto bus tour, so you're gonna be a busy guy, Ben. But we'll make it work. So other than that, everybody, be blessed, be safe. It's been great hanging out. Any last thoughts, Mario, real quick before we dial off, or you good to go?
Nothing. No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. See you guys tonight for the live stream. Peace.
Peace.